It's not very often that the defending national champions have a no chance to win a national championship the next season, but I believe that to be the case in 2024. In fact, I think there are only four teams that can realistically win a national championship, win the very first 12-team playoff in 2024. And we're going to go through all those teams. Look, I know a team can get hot and a player can take over. Look at Cam Newton at Auburn in 2010. Look at Joe Burrow at LSU in 2019. Those players were, just phenomenal players that basically put their teams on their back and carried them to a national championship. So we could get a player like that comes out of nowhere, and maybe a team wins the national championship that's not on this list. But again, I really feel like there are only four teams that have a chance with a 12-team playoff. So to win a 12-team playoff, you've got to have a lot of talent. You've got to be balanced. You got to have a good offense, a good defense, in my opinion. You've got to have not just talent, but you've got to have depth. Remember, there are going to be more games played this season, and you've got to get through 3 or potentially 4 games in the playoff to win a national championship. And, you need good quarterback play. I really feel like you need good quarterback play. I don't think you're going to see a team like Michigan from last year win a national championship in a 12-team playoff. I think you're going to have to be a little bit more explosive on offense and be good on defense as well to have a chance, just because you've got to get through, again, 3 or 4 games. So let's get to, but actually before I get to the 4 teams that I believe have a chance to win the national championship, I'm going to go through 4 teams that I think would have a chance to win a national championship if it was just a 4-team playoff, if they only had to win 2 games, and just talk about some of these teams that I think a lot of people would expect maybe to be on my list that are not, and I'll tell you why they're not. So we'll start with Alabama. So I think Alabama in a 14 playoff, maybe they could pull it off, but question marks for me with this team are depth on defense, and without Nick Saban, how good are they going to be on that side of the ball, especially in the secondary? How well is Jalen Milroe going to mesh with this new offense? They're not great at wide receiver. They don't have guys like they had at Washington last season at that wide receiver spot. If he puts in the work and they get him in great shape and he becomes a much better passer this offseason, maybe they could be in that conversation to win it all. But again, I don't think that they're going to have a chance to win a 12-team playoff and get through 3 or 4 rounds. So I don't think Alabama's quite there. I'm also looking at Ole Miss. This is a team that's going to be really good. And again, I think they could possibly win a 14 playoff, but depth on defense is going to be a concern there. Again, you're talking about injuries that happen, more games. I just feel like it's going to be a little bit of a different grind, and it's going to be tougher for teams to win at the end of the season if they're not loaded with depth. And Ole Miss is not really loaded with depth. Yes, the defense, I believe, improved a lot this offseason, and the offense should be really good, but I don't know if they can get all the way and win a national championship. Also, Penn State. Penn State is a team that I think could maybe make a run in a 14 playoff, but you wonder about their explosiveness on offense. I talked about that just a second ago. I don't think a team that is not really good on both offense and defense is going to be able to get it done. I guess if you were just so good on defense that the other team just can't score at all, I mean, there could be a scenario where that works out. But I think Penn State would have a real shot in a 14 playoff. I really do. But in this 12-team playoff, I don't see it happening. And same thing with Notre Dame. Very similar story there. Are they going to be explosive enough on offense? Yes, the defense should be really good. They'll be able to run the football. I look at Notre Dame and Penn State as very similar teams. Both with some, I wouldn't say question marks at quarterback, but you don't know how good that position is going to be. Riley Leonard coming over to Notre Dame, how well will he play in this offense? And then Drew Aller, will he live up to his potential? Because he's got a lot of talent. Those are questions that you have to wonder. So I think these 4 teams could potentially win a 14 playoff, but I'm going to say they do not have a chance to win the 12-team playoff. And like I said, there's really only 4 teams. We will start with Georgia. So Georgia really checks all the boxes. I think they're one of the front runners for sure. You've got a really good quarterback play. You've got a ton of talent on both sides of the ball, a ton of depth. This might be the deepest team in college football. So yeah, I think Georgia absolutely could win it all. I've seen a lot of lists where Carson Beck is listed as the top quarterback returning in 2024. And they've added some weapons around him. And again, that defense, we know it's going to be really good. So Georgia, I believe, has a chance to win it all in 2024. I also believe Ohio State has a chance to win it all It's funny that the question marks for Ohio State have become about the offense since last season. It's the defense that is really the strength here. But if they can get back to playing really, really well on offense like they did for several years before last season, you put a really good offense together with a really good defense. Chip Kelly calling the plays. There are question marks. How's that all going to work? Will Howard coming in from Kansas State, how well will he fit? I think it's going to work out really well, and I think Ohio State, I believe Georgia and Ohio State are the clear front runners, but I don't think they're the only two teams that can win it all. But I do think, if you had to say, which team you really feel like is going to win a national championship, I think you would have to pick out of those two teams. But we're going to give a couple more teams a chance here. I think that we're talking about Oregon, so I think Oregon does have a chance. One of the big question marks here is Dan Lanning in big games. He has not come through in big games in the past. Can he get it done in potentially a Big Ten championship, which that may not even matter, but can he get it done in the college football playoff, in a 12-team playoff, and can he do it for 3 or 4 rounds? That's going to be a big question mark. But if you just look at the roster and you look at this team, I think they've got the pieces. They've got the talent. Dillon Gabriel comes back. There's a lot of weapons around him, a very strong offensive line. You look at the defense, I think they've done a nice job at recruiting, adding players in the transfer portal. They're talented. They're deep. I think Oregon is right there behind Georgia and Ohio State, and I think they have a chance. If they can get better as the season goes along, I believe the Ducks have a chance to win it all in 2024. And my final team is Texas. Texas, I believe, has a chance to win a national championship and win the first 12-team playoff. Quinn Ewers coming back obviously is huge for them. You've got one of the top quarterbacks in the country. They've added pieces in the transfer portal. I think the skill position is really good. It's deep. The offensive line is really strong for Texas. They lost some really good players on defense, but they bring in some players to help out there. And again, they've recruited well. They have a ton of depth. I just really feel like this Texas team has the talent. They have the depth. They have the quarterback play, and they should be good on both sides of the ball. And so I think Texas is a team that could win the whole thing in 2024. So for me, there are only 4 teams looking at it right now that could win a national championship, that could win the first 12-team playoff. Now, we talked about those other 4 teams. I know some will, getting back to Michigan, I just think there are way too many question marks on offense. Lost way too much. The defense could be really good once again, potentially, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do what they did last season. That would be a big surprise for me. And watch out if there is a dark horse to kind of come out of nowhere. Watch out for Oklahoma State. I've been looking at this team, evaluating their roster. They've got a lot of talent. Now, I don't know if they have the depth, kind of similar to Ole Miss potentially, but just their starters, they can compete with anyone. So watch out for Oklahoma State to maybe be a surprise team. But again, I think it's going to be either Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, or Oregon, and I would love to know your thoughts. Which teams do you think can win it all in 2024? Let me know down in the comments below.